سارة، صار عندي حادث سيارة واتصلت بالمحامي قاجي.
قصدين أنتي المحامي قاجي؟
يعني هذا المكتب اللي قالوا عليه أكبر مكتب محاماة عربي كلداني بأمريكا قاجي؟
لا أنا محامي بالكاجي لا. أنا أعرف لورنس هو قال لي كاجي لا.
أنا أعرف العائلة زين يقولوها قاجي.
بعد أي حادث سيارة اتصلوا بي. أنا محامي لورنس قاجي. 248-702-6641 248-702-6641.
أعزائي المستمعين، مساء الخير عليكم، وبرنامج جديد للمحامي لورنس قاجي تنقل الحلقة لايف على صفحة إذاعة صوت الغد، وأيضا على قناتنا في اليوتيوب فيوتشر راديو ميشيغان. قبل كل شيء نرحب بالأستاذ المحامي لورنس قاجي. Welcome, Mr. Lawrence.
Hello. Thank you for having us this week. How are you?
I'm okay.
Good.
Welcome, Mr. John.
Thanks for having me back. It's always a pleasure.
وأهلا وسهلا بالباراليغال الصديقة العزيزة تمارا.
يا أهلا وسهلا بالجميع.
طبعا اليوم مستمعينا راح نحكي قصص. تمام؟
يس.
قصص.
راح نحكي قصص أكيد بيها شوية همين فوائد ومعلومات وشلون حصلوا وليش حصلوا وليش ما حصلوا، كل هاي الأشياء
راح نحكي بيها اليوم.
بالضبط.
فاليوم مستمعينا أي واحد طبعا عنده سؤال أو عنده قصة يريد يحكيها ويا مكتب المحامي لورنس، أو عنده قضية يحب أنه المحامي لورنس أو مكتب المحامي لورنس ياخذ هذه القضية، مستمعينا الأكارم يقدر يخابرنا على الهواء على 586-825-2015 586-825-2015. رقم تليفون المكتب، مكتب المحامي لورنس قاجي هو 248-702-6641.
So today our topic is going to be stories that happen in real life, and we dealt with it in the office, and we are going to learn from these, and it is also good stories.
Yeah. So when we do what we're doing this week is only for purposes of the radio. We never give out obviously any client names, even initials. There's no way that anyone will ever be able to tell who these people are. So just wanted to kind of put that initial disclaimer out there.
طبعا القصص اليوم اللي راح نحكيها ما راح يكون بيها لين ما يصير يعني ذكر اسماء او حتى احرفهم.
نعم.
او اي شيء، بس راح نحكي بشكل عام
مجرد
بالضبط.
نعم. حتى بدون ذكر اول حرف ولا اي شيء. نعم.
بالضبط،
لانه القضايا كلها في مكاتبنا هي سريه
طبعا.
Yeah, but we do have a lot of interesting cases to talk about today. And I think, Lawrence, do you want to start off with the first one? I think it's a good one.
So the first case wasn't really a case that we're going to be discussing like the rest of them. So the rest of the cases we'll be discussing are, how the accident happened, what we kind of did to work up the case, and then a settlement that came after. The first case that we're talking about was a little different. It was more of an offer that was made, a very large offer that we initially, as after discussing with the client and going over all the claims, rejected. And and I think it's one of those things that obviously the client always has the last final authority to accept or reject a matter. But I think this is a case that I would say a lot of lawyers would have probably tried to get their client to accept.
Yeah. Well, and maybe we should give a little bit of background. This was an older accident,
yes.
Right? And this was actually someone who was involved in an accident back in the 1970s.
Oh.
So it was post the original No Fault Act. Okay, so he was eligible for what's been called unlimited PIP benefits.
It was pre that reform.
Pre-reform, but what was right. Sorry. And so basically, but he was under his insurance policy eligible for basically unlimited benefits for the rest of his life, right? And so I think what's important to note is that, and there were a lot of these cases that actually happened when the no-fault reform in 2019 came through. A lot of insurance companies started cutting people off from benefits that they'd been receiving for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. This particular client came to us and said, hey, I'm having trouble. The insurance company doesn't want to pay my attendant care in full anymore. It was one of those
cases where the insurance company cut the attendant care down from
right,
whatever he was getting at the time. I don't remember if it was
to about half.
20 plus hours to
Yes.
56
Yes.
hours
Yes.
per week
Yes.
because it was family provided.
Yes.
سو هاليوم اللي القصص اللي راح نحكي بيها
نعم.
عادة الزبون يجي من يصير عنده حادث ونبدي بالقضية. هاي القضية من السبعينات.
نعم.
اللي هو بالسبعينات كان القانون بأنه الزبون يقدر يحصل unlimited health. يعني طبابة.
This case is about khidma, so it's about attendant care.
عنده طبابة مفتوحة للحياة كلها وانليمتد غير محددة، وعنده همينة المساعدات الصحية الشخصية، وليس الخدمة.
أيضا
الخدمة بس عندهم 3 سنين ما يصير أكثر، بس هو عنده مساعدات صحية شخصية. هاي همينة تصير unlimited. يس. اللي صار هو كان كل هالسنين الانشورنس تدفع له لانه هو، وهدا نحكي بانه هو كان اصابات بالدماغ، اصابات بالدماغ يعني الكبيره جدا،
اللي يسوي مثلا يعني على المكاين يصير او هيك شيء.
بالضبط.
نعم.
Are we allowed to say how the accident happened?
Yes.
Sure. Okay. هو كان صغير واقف ويا امه يم سياره امه فاتحه البند مالتها، كان اكو صوت بيها، فراحت شغلت السياره، واحده من البنكات طارت وطبت براسه.
واو.
يس. سو صار عنده طبعا اصابه بالدماغ، والاصابه يعني طول مدى الحياه. Oh yeah, yes, I handled that case. That's why. اللي صار بأنه يحتاج مساعدة شخصية، أحد يجي يغسل له، أحد يجي يبدل له، أطباء يوكل لأنهم طول العمر. ورا ما صار 2019 تغير القانون، إيش قد ما كان دا ياخذ المساعدات الصحية الشخصية، الانشورنس قطعتها إلى 65 ساعة بالأسبوع، اللي هي نهائيا ما تكفي. وقامت ما تدفع له المصاريف مالته، فإجه إلنا.
Think about this, 40 years later.
50 years later.
بعد مرور 50 سنة هو كبر طبعا الولد.
كان عمره 17 سنة من
صار 67
بالضبط.
نعم.
طبعا اللي قدمنا سوينا السوق، قدمنا الآفر والقضية، جتنا الآفر. الكلام الأول والأخير هو يكون للزبون نفسه. اوكي. فالزبون ما قبل الآفر.
So actually
يعني بعد مرور 50 سنة هو خدمة وبعدين ما وافق.
It was more kind of a team effort. We went through all the numbers, and we essentially said that it's not enough money.
It's not enough money.
Yes. And I guess the point of this story is most. I don't know if this is true, but I would have to assume that most lawyers would have tried to. The offer was a lot. The lawyer would have made about $1 million off of from it, and their fee only.
Oh,
their fee only.
Their fee. That means it's 4 or 5 million.
It was a lot of millions.
Yes.
So you would assume that most lawyers to see that kind of money would try to get their client to take it.
Yeah.
And we didn't do that.
Yes.
We actually went the other way and told him that he should reject it.
القضيه الانشورنس قدمت السعر جدا خيالي، بس المحامين بمساعده المحامين والقضيه مالته هاي هالمبلغ وهي بالملايين.
نعم.
يعني بس احنا اذا اخذنا مالتنا الحصه فوق المليون.
نعم.
فانت احسب كم مليون
كم مليون هي
بالضبط. بس هاي ما تكفي للزبون اللي هو متاذي بهالقضيه. احتمال اكثر من المحامين كان اخذوها وقالوا له اخذها وامشي، لانه سعر جدا خيالي. بس لحد الان احنا يعني اقترحنا عليه بانه ما ياخذ هذا المبلغ لانه هو يستاهل اكثر.
And we gave him more honest opinion, and the client then made his own decision, obviously. But I guess John, if you want to talk about this case a little bit more, the point is, just the integrity of being a lawyer and advising your client the right way.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of lawyers look at the money that they're going to be making off a case as opposed to what their client's bottom line is and what they're going to have to deal with for the rest of their life.
Yeah. So I think you're absolutely right. What I would add is that I think it's important to remember when a settlement offer is made, right? Or when you're talking about settlement, you have to think about what it is you're settling. And there are different ways of settlements, of making settlements in cases. You can settle all of a case, or you can settle a portion of a case. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you can even settle what we call futures, which is essentially you're waiving any claims for the future. Okay. So one of the things that we talk to our clients about are the different types of offers, right? And sometimes you can even get multiple offers on a case for different amounts that settle different portions.
For the same case.
For the same case,
yes.
That settle different things. So, and I just explain this a little bit to give it some context. So when we talk to a client, especially in a larger issue case like this, what we're talking about is, okay, so this is what the insurance company wants to resolve. These are the different aspects, right? And for example, they may want to say, well, we want to resolve all of your past claims, okay, that are outstanding. So let's say you've got outstanding medical bills. We want to resolve all those. Okay, that makes sense. That's what you usually are doing in a lawsuit. But they say, we also want to resolve any present claims that you've got and any future claims. Meaning, if you have a claim 10 years from now, you can't bring it to us. Okay. So what we try to do is we try to go through the various aspects of these offers, okay, with the client and say, does this make sense for you? Right? In other words, are you going to have an issue with this down the road? And sometimes there is no answer. And the reason there's no answer is because you can't predict the future.
So مثل ما قلت بأنه ويا الاقتراحات المحامين من شافوا واقترحوا على الزبون فكر بالموضوع ورفض العرض. اللي هو واحد من يسوي تسوية. مرات العروض التسوية لنفس القضية تكون مختلفة. اكو عرض جدا عدل بسيط بأنه أنت توقع على العرض بأنه أنت خلصت وبعد ما تتعالج وانتهى يكون سعرها غير شكل مما أنت تكون تخلي الطبابة مفتوحة. أوكي، لأنه مرات الشخص المصاب طبعا أنت ما تعرف المستقبل إيش راح يصير. أنت ما تدري بأنه هل مرات ماكو إلا إجابة ما تعرف شو تجاوب نعم أو لا. لو بس هي اقتراحات اللي احنا نقدر ننطيها. ولازم الزبون هو يسوي مالته القرار الأخير. ومرات القضية هي نفسها، إذا تسدها كلها مالتها التسوية شكل، إذا تخلي الطبابة شكل، إذا تخلي يعني كل شيء إلى يعني تسوية ومبلغ خاص.
زين، سؤال 50 سنة هذه 50 سنة محامي واحد كان؟
No, he didn't need a lawyer. He didn't need a lawyer until a couple of years ago when the insurance company took his attending care and cut it to 56 hours a week.
Right. ما كان عنده هو محامي نهائيا لأنه ما كان محتاج. كانت الانشورنس تدفعها تطوعي
نعم.
بالضبط.
نعم.
فورا بال 2019 من
بدأ
غللوا
القانون.
القانون وقصوا الاشياء عليه، احتاج محامي.
فرق.
نعم.
So, Saad, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. You just got to have trust in your lawyer.
Yeah.
أهم شيء.
And
Yes.
if you have that, I think everything else will fall into place.
اهم شيء بالعلاقه بين الزبون والمحامي هي الثقه، اللي تكون الكلام بيناتكم واحد ومفتوح. لا تضم على المحامي مالتك اي شيء.
Think about now how much the client trusts us.
Yes.
Where we could have made a huge fee on a case, we told them no, and we moved on.
طبعا فرق.
طبعا
Yeah.
ايش قد ثقته هسه بينا زادت.
وراح يحكيها للناس.
طبعا.
And just to be clear, we didn't tell him no, he couldn't do it. We just said, you know, this is what our thoughts are on the case.
That's what I said.
Right. Well,
نقترح عليه وهو يقرر.
yeah.
نعم.
The idea is we give him the information, we give him our best advice, and then we let him make the decision.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. Yep.
Yeah.
احنا اللي ننطي النصيحة وننطي شنو الأسباب اللي إذا نقول نعم وإذا نقول لا، وهاي اقتراحات فقط بالحالتين، وبالأخير الكلام الأول والأخير يكون إله.
Always. Yep.
Yes.
حلوة هاي القصص، يعني واحد لأنه ترهم هذه مع كل المجتمع مالنا موجودة.
بالضبط صحيح.
I have another story actually that went full circle and actually settled. It wasn't for millions of dollars. I think the settlement was around 110,000. But the story was one of my favorite stories, so I do want to tell it over the radio. Yeah.
Sure. المحامي لورنس عنده همينة قصة بأنه صح مو بالملايين التسوية، بس 110 بس يحب يخبرنا اياها.
لأنه يحبها.
Yes.
So John, you remember this matter too. So we had a case that we got a call. I think they saw one of our TV commercials and they called us. And when they came in, John met with him at the intake, and his issue was, aside from being injured from the car accident, his issue was the other driver allegedly lied about how the accident happened, and he just could not give that up. He was stressing more about that than almost everything else the initial day that we met with him.
Yep.
القضية هنا اجى همينة واحد متضرر بحادث سيارة، من اجى للمكتب المحامي جان شافه، إضافة إلى الأضرار اللي هو بيها، كان هو كلش يعني مستاء لأنه الشخص اللي ضربه كذب شلون صار الحادث، وهاي كلش تفرق بالقضية.
Yeah, and we took him at his word, and he said he wasn't at fault, and so we decided to give it a shot.
Yeah.
وإحنا أخذنا القصة مالته سمعناها وصدقنا به، وقلنا نمشي بالقضية، ومشينا بالقضية حتى نشوف شنو اللي يصير.
And John, from what I remember, it was one of those situations where our client said the other driver ran a red light, and the other driver said our client ran a red light. Is that right?
That's my recollection. Yeah.
بأنه القصة كان هو قال وأنا قلت، هذاك قال بأنه الزبون مالتنا هو المشى خلال الضوء الأحمر، بينما هو كان اللي هو المشى بالضبط.
Yeah. So we filed the case, and we started going through the discovery process and taking depositions, and time finally came for the deposition of the other driver.
So مشينا بالقضية ورفعنا القضية سوري، وبدينا سوينا إفادات، وإجا اليوم إلى إفادة الشخص اللي ضربه.
Yeah. So
الكذب اللي كذب.
نعم.
Yeah. So the deposition was taken by one of our really great young lawyers that's really making a difference in people's lives right now, Tom.
Yes.
And he took the deposition, and this was a rare a situation where our client wanted to be present for the deposition. So he wanted to actually be there while we were asking this person questions. And we said, perfectly fine, obviously.
عادة من يسوون الإفادة للشخص الغلطان الزبون مالتنا ما يكون موجود. هنا طبعا واحد من أصغر المحامين عندنا يعني كسنا أصغر المحامين عندنا بالمكتب كل الشاطر ما شاء الله عليه. بس الزبون راد من المحامي بأنه يكون موجود بالإفادة وما بيها مشكلة طبعا يقدر يكون موجود طبعا. فاجا وقعد بالإفادة حتى يشوفون الإفادة مال الشخص الآخر راح يكون.
And you know, Tom did his thing. You know, he beat up the opponent pretty good, and I don't mean physically beating someone up, verbally. And he actually got out of him what really happened in the accident, and it was exactly what our client had said would happen. After years of lying, it finally came out.
ورا سنين من الكذب من جت الإفادة المحامي يعني احنا نقول شاطر غسله
فتح باللبن
غسله كلش. فبالأخير خلاه يحكي الحقيقة ورا ما كذب كم سنة وطلع بالضبط إيش قال مالتنا الزبون هو كان صحيح. Yes.
So after this is what kind of really touched me. So after the deposition, Tom met with him and he started crying. You know, he started crying. Everyone cries, right? He's an older man. He started crying, and he said, he told Tom, "I finally got justice. I finally got," and this was before a settlement, before he even had $1 from this case.
Yeah.
He said, "I finally got justice."
ورا ما خلصت بالإفادة بعد ماكو أرقام وماكو تسوية وماكو أي شيء.
Before all of that happens.
قبل هاي بالإفادة بس يحكون شلون الحادث صار وانت عالج يعني أشياء عامة من يوم الحادث إلى هذا النهار. ورا ما خلصت الإفادة الزبون باوع بوجه المحامي وقال له هاليوم يلا قام يبكي طبعا خطية. قال هاليوم يلا حسيت بأنه أني حقوقي يعني حصلت حقوقي وأني ما غلطان. هذا أهم شيء. وهذا ما كان بباله أي سعر أو أي فلوس أو أي شيء.
You know, and I gotta say, it's one of the best feelings when you're the lawyer and you get something out of a defendant, and you know that you just basically made the case.
Right. And this is even better because your client actually witnessed it.
Yeah, and in that case, yeah, that's pretty exceptional.
المحامي يقول أحسن شعور لمحامي بأنه يطلع الحقيقة وللزبون مالته، وخاصة الزبون كان موجود همينه. هاي بعد أكثر. فبالنسبة للمحامي بأنه يطلع الغلط من الغلطان ويكون يعترف ويعترف هاي أحسن نجاح بالضبط. Yes.
You know, I if it's okay, I have a story about a deposition too that I wanted to tell you.
Your story, and I have stories opposite.
Okay, I would love to hear it. So this was an old case that I did quite a few years ago. But basically, it's a unique case in a lot of ways because I was representing basically a minor. So I was representing the family on behalf of the minor. Okay, and the situation in this case was the minor was outside and he was playing in a driveway. Okay, this is not necessarily anything unusual. He's on his own property playing in a driveway, and a vehicle was, if I recall correctly, he had lost his way and he was going to turn around, and so he pulls into this driveway, not seeing that the child was there. And this is where the discrepancy happened. Okay. Now the child didn't know what happened. Okay. But what the driver originally claimed was that the child jumped in front of his car. Okay. But when I first heard the family give me this story, I was very suspicious. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the driver immediately jumped out of the car, put the child who's bleeding, who has a head injury, okay, in his own car, okay, and drives him immediately with the family, but drives him to the hospital. And I thought, you know, this is an odd thing to do if you feel no guilt whatsoever at the time. Okay, so I didn't quite believe the story. And so it was more than a year later when we get to a point of a deposition. And then some interesting things happen. But I'm going to let Tamara translate that before I move on.
Yeah. المحامي جان قبل كم سنة كان عنده همينة قضية لطفل صغير كان دا يلعب طفل دا يلعب على مالتهم الدرايفر يم هاي دا يلعب الشخص اللي دا يسوق ضيع المكان فسوى رجع على الدرايفر دا يريد يلوف يقول أني الطفل هو قمص قدام السيارة صحيح. بس طبعا الأهل يحجون الطفل ما يتذكر كل شيء صغير بس السائق سوى رأسا نزل من السيارة أخذ الطفل لأنه انضرب على رأسه actually على رأسه من قدام ومن وراء والأهل هم صعد وأخذهم رأسا للمستشفى. النقطة وين إذا أنت ما تحس بأنه أنت غلطان ما عندك هذا بأنه خلي أخابر الإسعاف أول لو أخابر الشرطة أول لو هو من خوف رأسا أخذه ووداه للمستشفى.
Okay, so we get to the deposition and I start questioning him about what happened in the accident. And what I think is really interesting
questioning the family
or the driver.
Same way, right? Take a deposition. This is how you get information.
Yeah.
You take depositions.
Yeah. Yep. So a deposition, just for the listeners, if they don't know what that term means, a deposition is just a question and answer session. It's where the attorney gets to ask a witness or a participant in the lawsuit questions about their position in terms of, you know, where they were or what happened, things like that. Okay. So I'm at this deposition and I'm the attorney that is taking this deposition. This was me. And I asked him, I said, okay, well, you know, where were you coming from? Where were you going? The usual questions. Okay. You know, did you see the child? And we went into it. And as I asked him questions, he gave me, it was amazing, different answers. Okay. Depending upon when I asked him. So at first he tried to stick to his story that the kid jumped in front of him. That's what he said originally. But as I started questioning him, all of a sudden he's like, oh, well, there was a car blocking my view. I couldn't see. Okay. And I said, okay, well then how fast were you going? Did you pull into this driveway at 20 miles an hour? Okay. So you couldn't see it? Like,
say yes.
No. He claimed he was going, you know, the speed limit, very slow. It was a residential road. You know, and eventually I got it out of him, multiple inconsistencies in his story. First, he said the kid jumped in front of him, but then he claimed he never saw the child at all until the impact, which are two totally inconsistent things. You can't know that the child jumps in front of your car if you never saw them, right? Yeah. But then it got even more interesting because then he started essentially lying, frankly, about other things too. I said, well, wait a minute, if this was, you know, such a traumatic event, you know, you must have told some people about this. Who did you tell? And at first he said his wife, but then later he said, oh, no, I never told anybody. And I said, wait a minute, so you had a child bleeding in your car and you never told a soul? That seems unbelievable.
اوكي سو اجت يوم الافاده طبعا تصير دائما ما هي الافاده هي اسئله واجوبه او تكون من الانشورنس للزبون مالتنا او من عندنا من المحامي مالتنا الى الشخص الغلطان. اوكي سو ورا سنه ونص طبعا هواية أشياء تتغير، واحد ينسى أشياء، واحد يتذكر أشياء، صح لو مو صحيح. اللي صار بأنه من سوينا إفادة لهذا السائق إجاباته ما كانت متطابقة مختلفة. مرة قال أني ما شفته، ومرة قال هو قمز قدام السيارة، ومرة قال كانت أكو سيارة موجودة وأني ما شفته. سو لو شلون زين اذا هو يعرف هو قمص قدام السياره شلون ما شافه؟ هل كنت تمسك سريع لو لا؟ هل انت قلت لاي احد من الاهل؟ قال لا، بس اول مره قال انا قلت لزوجتي. شلون انت عندك طفل تاخذه بسياره كل دمايه ومستشفى وما تقول لاي احد؟ هذا هم يعني هم غلط. سو
يعني اختلاف صار
بالضبط. هوايه كان اكو كذب بالحكي. نعم.
Yeah. So anyway, bottom line is maybe the favorite part of this story is that after about halfway through the deposition, the defense attorney, who is now very frustrated,
his lawyer.
Yes. The defense attorney, his lawyer, decided to take a break. I don't know if I ever told you this, Lawrence.
No. This was a case actually that John handled. I think before he came over to office.
Yes.
So this must have been what, 5-6 years ago.
I think it was even longer than that. But but the best part of this story was the defense attorney decides to take a break. Okay.
Of course.
And
he uses the bathroom.
Well, right. No. This was the best thing. The defense attorney exits the room and then starts. I could hear them shouting. Okay. These multiple defense attorneys were all shouting about how badly it was going, and I could hear them outside the room. They thought I couldn't hear them, and they were so upset. They were like, "This is a disaster! What's going on?" Like, and it was just such a wonderful time. I just had such a great time with it.
So, الإفادة ما تمشي صحيح بالنسبة لهم. المحامي مالت الشخص الغلطان يعني عصب. قال أريد استراحة. لك حق تأخذ استراحة شو وقت ما تريد. فهم عبالهم حاطين الكمبيوتر على الصامت بس نقدر نسمعهم، وبدأوا يعيطون واحد على الآخر بأنه كل شيء ده يمشي غلط وكلك ده تحكي أنت ليش ده تكذب يعني ليش كذبت علينا ما قلت لنا الحقيقة.
المحامي ده يقول
Yeah. Now, just to give a quick conclusion to this story, the good thing is that the child basically fully recovered. He was fine, but I did manage to get him a fairly good settlement. And the other unique thing about this case was because he was a minor at the time of the settlement, he was only 8. Okay. And so what I actually did for him and his family was another unique thing. We did what's called a structured settlement for him, essentially through an annuity, where what that does is it'll pay him once he gets to the age of majority, which is 18, when he turns an adult. And we actually structured it so that the settlement itself was a certain dollar value. And even after you took out attorney's fees, what he ended up with, he got 3 payments at the ages of 18, 21, and I believe 23 or 25. I can't remember. But those 3 payments combined actually exceeded the amount of the settlement, even after the attorney's fees were taken out, because we invested those funds for him. So this 8-year-old ended up with a whole lot of money. He had more than enough money to go to college twice with the settlement, which was great because he was compensated for the accident.
من سوينا التسوية كانت جدا جيدة طبعا. بما أنه هو طفل عمره 8 سنين، الطفل ممنوع يستلم أي تسوية ولا الأهل ما يصير. فتروح إلى مثل صندوق خزينة خاصة.
شو يسموها؟
يعني لا مو escrow. No.
It's something called an annuity. Basically, it's a structured settlement where they won't get payments right away. Minors aren't. So it's complicated, but the minors.
They invested.
Minors can't receive a certain amount of funds without court approval. Okay, because frankly, parents aren't allowed to spend the minor funds. It's for the minor. Okay, without certain permissions. So we just structured it such that he got the money when he turned 18, 21 again. Yeah, so when he got older.
So أهم شيء الطفل صار زين. طبعا احتاج لهواية عمليات وعمليات تجميل همينة لأنه كانت براسه وبقصته. So اللي صار وراء التسوية، همنا ساعدنا العائلة بأنه الطفل من يوصل سن البلوغ اللي
نعم.
هي هنا 18 سنة إلى حق يأخذ المبلغ.
نعم.
بس سوينا له إياه في الطريقة بأنه قسمناها إلى 3 أجزاء.
نعم.
الجزء الأول أول 18 هاي أول سنة يطب كلية، وبعدين 21. we have a call.
Oh, wonderful.
صوت الغد، تفضلوا. الو،
مرحبا.
مرحبا عيني.
مرحبا.
اهلا.
ممكن أقدر سؤال المحامي؟
تفضلي.
بس عندي صديقتي سوت حادث، بس كانت صديقتي قاعدة وياها، يعني تشتكي على يعني واحد على أو الانشورنس، على هو تقدر تشتكي على صديقته.
هو منو كان الغلطان؟
هذاك.
What's the question?
Okay.
I love this question.
Yes. So there is her friend was driving, and she had her friend with her, and they got in an accident.
Mhm.
That other friend wants to sue the driver, which is her friend,
Yes.
but she was not at fault.
Mhm.
Can she or who she should go after?
So fault is a question for a jury. I'm going to start with that. So without knowing the specifics of how
Could we
the
get
accident
more
happened.
information on
Yeah.
how the accident
How did the
happened?
accident happen?
شلون صار الحادث تعرفين؟
صدقيني أنا ما قدرت، صحت هي تخابركم، قالت لي بس أخابركم أنا أحكي، قالت لي يعني أنت تسألهم بالموضوع.
Yeah.
Okay.
If she
She
wants to
doesn't.
get us some information about how the accident happened, it would help us answer the question.
Yeah,
حبيبي تقدر تخابرني
but I can give you a general answer.
للأوفيس وأنا أقدر نقدر نجاوبها. وهسه هم راح ننطي فد معلومة عامة وليس لأنه كل حادث إلى يعني
له
طريقة خاصة.
نعم.
بس اتصل بي على عندك ورقة وقلم؟
سجل الرقم.
صدقيني أنا بالسيارة هسه في أي بس أقدر
اوكي، خابر الإذاعة عندنا وأنا أنطيك الرقم هذه.
نعم.
أوكي.
اوكي.
شكرا.
أهلا وسهلا.
خوش على
She doesn't know.
We could answer.
No,
either
that's
way.
fine. Yeah, we'll give an
So
answer.
there's 2 scenarios here. When
Yeah.
she does call back, it'll probably fall in one of these 2 scenarios.
Yeah.
First scenario, both drivers were partially at fault, in
Mhm.
which John would be able to answer. The other
Yep.
scenario, the other driver was completely at fault. Let's say
Right.
it was a rear end accident or something like that.
Yeah.
So, John,
Yeah.
walk us through both of those
Sure.
situations.
So let's start with actually the more common scenario, but you never know. It could go either way. It's very common that both parties are partially at fault, right? So if one driver did something wrong and another driver also did something wrong, Michigan has what we call comparative negligence. Okay. And so in Michigan, if both parties are partially at fault, let's say, they were both turning left, they both, hit each other at the same time, the passenger could sue either one of them or more likely both of them. Okay. And could obtain essentially a settlement from both parties. Now, in a situation where only one party is at fault, so let's say it's a very clear accident, and let's say we don't know what exactly happened from based on what the caller.
He is hurt only.
Well, it's not about who's hurt; it's about fault here. So what we're talking about is, let's say that in the situation that our caller just gave, the passenger in the vehicle was rear-ended by the other car. So the driver that was driving her didn't do anything wrong. Let's say that was the situation.
Yeah.
Okay. She's sitting at a stoplight. She was rear-ended. There's nothing she could have done, right? In that case, to the caller's question, can she sue her friend who was driving her if that was what happened? Well, I mean, anyone can sue anyone for anything, but no, she wouldn't be successful, right? That would be an unsuccessful lawsuit. That would probably be subject to what we call a motion for summary disposition, and the case would be dismissed if she tried. But again, fault is a question for a jury in most cases if there's any disputes as the facts. So, if the one driver said, hey, my light was green and your light was red, but the other driver says, hey, my light was green and your light was red, well then, yeah, I mean, she could sue her, and then a jury will decide which one is at fault. Yeah.
And you mean sue her personally or her insurance?
Sue her personally. That's how it always works.
Okay.
You can never sue an at-fault driver's insurance company.
اوكي سو مثل ما تفضلت بانه صديقتها كانت بدها تسوق وياها صديقتها الاخ، سو تريد تعرف هل هاي صديقتها تقدر تسوي قضيه ضدها نعم او لا. حسب السيناريو اذا هم واقفين مثلا واجا واحد من ورا دعمهم، صديقتها كل شيء ما مسويه، ما إلها اي ذنب، ما تقدر تسوي اي شيء ضد صديقتها. بينما اذا على ترفك وهذا يقول لا هي كان عندها احمر، لا انا كان عندي احمر لو اخضر، بهيك حاله يكون الغلطان مو واضح، نعم تقدر تسوي قضيه ضدها. نعم.
But it's a great question, and if the caller has other questions, or if there are other callers with questions, we love questions.
Yeah. So the reason I like that question is,
Yeah.
I always get this question.
Yeah.
My brother was at fault for the accident. My sister was at fault for the accident. My cousin, my best friend.
Yes.
I don't want to sue my best friend. Yes, you should. You should definitely sue your best friend.
10 times before you
Yeah.
sue him.
You should, because a majority of the time, 99.999% for us, it's probably been 100%. I don't think we've collected from anyone personally, but
No.
we always go after the insurance policy.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and to be
Right?
clear, what we're doing, you do sue the individual, right? But the money doesn't come from those individuals. It comes from the
It will come
insurance
from the
company.
insurance.
Okay. So that's where the money
So
comes
don't
from.
worry
But
about
it will
Yeah.
hurt him
No,
because the insurance will.
the insurance is going to go up regardless.
The insurance, I agree with that.
There's a claim that's being made.
That's
He's
right.
at fault for an accident.
Yeah.
I can tell you, there's no specific science on how things go up, but I can guarantee you the insurance will go up regardless if he's sued or not.
I have to second what
But
Lawrence just said.
your advice is
To sue your brother.
sue, even if he's your brother or whatever.
We always go after the insurance policy.
That's good.
And,
Yeah.
and you're the client. You'll tell us,
Yes.
go after the insurance policy. Don't go after him personally. And that's going to be your decision.
Yes. احنا مثل ما طبعا سؤال المتصله جدا جدا جيد، وهذا السؤال بهوايه اجوبه، فاحب من صديقتها اذا تريد تتصل بينا للمكتب 248-702-6641 واحنا نقدر نساعدها بالضبط شنو اللي تقدر تمشي به. النقطه بانه احنا اذا اخوك ابوك قرايبك اي احد وهو غلطان، احنا نقول 1,000,000% سوي قضيه عليه. صح احنا نرفع القضيه باسمه، بس المصاريف تطلع من الانشورنس مالته مو من عند الشخص. هاي وحده. اثنين، مو الانشورنس يصعد. ما دام انت بحادث سياره اوريدي الانشورنس صاعد وما له علاقه بانه اذا راح تسوي قضيه ولا ما تسوي قضيه، الانشورنس يصعد.
يعني نصيحه الاستاذ لورنس
نعم
هي انه حتى لو زوجتك
بالضبط
اخوك ابن عمك تسوي عليه سوء، لانه مو من عنده راح تندفع
من الانشورنس مالته، والانشور يخاف للانشورنس يصعد،
هو
الانشورنس
already راح يصعد.
بالضبط. سو ما له بالضبط احسن شيء بانه تسوي
You are
قضيه.
done. You are done now.
And remember,
So-
just one last thing. Remember, these cases, that's where the money goes in your pocket. You know, the other type of cases for your medical bills, your khidma, these cases, when you sue the other driver, that money is going in your pocket. You're not paying
من
medical
تسوي-
bills out of it. You're not.
Right. That's for the
most
pain
of
and
the time,
suffering.
It's for the pain and suffering.
من تسوي القضيه ضد اللي ضربك، هاي مو قضيه حتى تدفع مالتك البلات، هاي الفلوس تجي بجيبك، هاي مال العطل وضرر. فهاي هي
That's what you
القضيه،
want.
هذا هي هنا الفلوس بتجي منين؟ من العطل وضرر.
من الانشورنس عطل ضرر.
بالضبط. سو نرجع الى القصه مالتنا، حخلصها بانه سوينا الهياب بثلاث اعمار، من يصير عمره 18 سنه و21 و23 او 25 ما اتذكر بالضبط، بحيث خلينا الهياب بحيث يصير افاده عليها، بحيث هو بالاخير حصل اكثر من التسويه مالته اصلا.
صح.
So it was very successful story.
Indeed. So you had a story you wanted to tell
Yes.
us.
طبعا جاني صديق
اي
بصراحه
أي.
قال قلت له ايش بيك؟ شو تعبان؟ قال ايه سويت حادث. قلت له ايش وقت سويت حادث؟ قال سويته بديسمبر.
اوكي.
ديسمبر العام الماضي. قلت له
Yes.
اوكي لا تعال اقعد اعطيك رقم تليفون محامي اخابره. قال لا ما اريد اخابر محامي. يا ليش ما تريد تخابر محامي؟ قال مو اني ما عندي اجازه. هاي واحده. ثانيا
Another good question.
All right, hold on. I need a
You didn't
translation.
have a driver's
Yes, you
license.
will.
Oh,
ثانياً
okay.
يقول دا سوق السياره مو مالتي.
اوكي.
شوف
Okay.
and it wasn't his
مع
car.
العلم
It's getting
Oh
better.
boy.
إيه، يقول مع العلم انا واقف
أي.
انا داسوق واقف
أي.
جتي بنيه
أي
ضربت وهنا على 16
أي.
ودكندر بين دكندر ورايد
مم.
يقول ضربت سيارتي
مهم.
بسرعه وصعدت على الحديقه وضربت الشجره.
مهم.
الشرطي اجى قال لي اتس يور فولت.
Okay. So translate all this for me,
قال لي
please.
اتس يور فولت. يقول انا ما اعرف انجليزي زين ما دا افتهم كل شيء واجازه اعرف ما عندي بس انت اخلص بجلدي.
Oh, okay. So his
You know
friend
that
came.
again?
So, do you know how many of our clients come to us and say they were cited for a
قلت
ticket
له
only because they don't speak English and they couldn't talk to the police officer? Happens a lot.
احكيها.
So his friend came
Yes.
over, and he was very upset.
Upset.
And
Okay.
he goes, "What's going on?" He said, "Well, back in December of
Mhm.
23, I got in an accident.
Okay.
I don't have driver license,
Okay.
and I was not driving my car,
Oh boy.
and I was waiting,
Uh-huh.
got rear-ended.
Okay.
The car who rear-ended me even went up the curb and hit a tree.
Okay. Yeah.
And when
serious.
the cop came, gave him the fault, and he said, "I
Mm.
cannot."
Contest it.
Well, language barrier,
Right.
so he couldn't, explain very
Right.
well. So Mr. Sahar told him, "Oh, come, I have a good lawyer. Let me," you know.
Absolutely.
And he goes, "No, I don't want lawyers. I don't want to talk to a lawyer. I just want to be out of this situation."
Well,
اوكي بلس
Okay.
بلس ناو عنده ثيرابي يسوي ثيرابي ظهره متألم
Okay.
يسوي
now-
ثيرابي بس شنو من الانشورنس مالته مال الميديكيت ماله.
Oh.
Okay.
wow, he's just bringing up all sorts of issues.
It's a story.
This is,
story.
there's about 15 different issues
Yeah,
to talk about
wow.
in this story.
Okay. Okay. I got to start writing all this down. Oh my gosh. Okay. No license, other car,
ترى شوف
using
يعني شغلة-
Medicaid. Woo. Did I catch that right?
Yes.
So he was injured, he went to therapy, and he needed and he used Medicaid. Is that
Yes.
okay? See, I caught that part.
Back story.
Yes.
All right. So you want to start, or you want me to start?
Can you handle this story? This
We can
Yes.
we can handle most cases.
Yes.
Based on these facts, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and
let's
I'll
go
explain.
through-
We got to explain.
Let's
Now.
go through issue by issue. Right?
Yeah.
This is what
Okay.
we do. So first thing is he didn't have a driver's license.
Yeah.
You don't have.
Yeah. But one at a time. One at a time. Well,
Yeah.
he didn't have a driver's license,
This is
right?
first.
This is first.
Okay.
Second, he was driving
Someone
it
else's
wasn't
car.
his car. Yeah.
So last week, Sarah, what did we talk about? We talked about who is eligible for an accident and who's not. Just last week. And I'm going to ask you a question. See how well you remember. Was one of I'm putting you on the spot. Was one of the rules as far as when you're not eligible for benefits that you don't have a license? Do you remember us talking about that?
No.
No, you don't, because we didn't.
No.
Not having a license doesn't preclude you from no fault benefits.
Surprising.
So,
Maybe
now,
a little bit.
If you're driving a car without a license, you're definitely guilty of a crime, and
This
you
is different.
you can get a ticket for that, and you may end up. I mean, it's a problem, but it doesn't preclude you from benefits. Okay, under the No Fault Act.
Yes. Yes.
So أولاً ما عنده إجازة.
ما عنده اجازه.
أوكي.
عنده اجازه بس صعب الاجازه مالته وعنده يعني عنده بروبلمز.
أوكي. هذا ما تمنعه بأنه يسوي قضية. احنا ذاك الأسبوع حكينا شنو الأشياء اللي تمنع اللي ما عندك قضية، ما تسوي عندك قضية، اللي هي أولاً بأنه أنت تسوق سيارتك الخاصة
نعم.
وما عندك انشورنس.
صحيح.
ما جبنا اسم بأنه أنت عندك إجازة أو ما عندك.
إيه، لا
So, فمعناته هو يقدر يسوي قضية حتى لو ما عنده إجازة، إلا حق بالقانون مال ميشيغان.
Yeah, like John said, he'll still probably get a ticket for driving without a license,
Right.
but it doesn't bar him from getting no fault benefits.
فاحتمال الشرطي خلاه هو الغلطان لأنه مالته الإجازة كانت ما موجودة بالضبط. احتمال
هو سوى له هو المخطئ. اي
مو إلا هو مخطئ.
ما ادري قال
ما.
اعطاني تكت.
اعطاني تكت بالضبط. ليش اعطاك تكت؟ لأنه ما عنده
ما
إجازة.
عنده إجازة.
هاي أولا، فلازم نشوف التكت طبعا.
وذيك قال اوكي جو.
can be.
All right. So Lawrence, you want to handle other person's vehicle?
Yeah. So he was driving someone else's
So if
vehicle.
it's so we have pictures for the car.
Okay.
Good. Pictures are great.
ايه
We love
والمكان
pictures.
يقول حتى قلت للشرطه يقول انا دا يعني اعرف شوي هيك يعني
مهم.
طقطق قال قلت له مضروب منه على الباب
Mhm.
شلون اني ضربتها
Yeah.
اذا اني ضارب
So
الباب
the last issue is him getting a ticket for everything.
Well,
فيها
that's
قضية
another
يعني.
issue. Okay.
So driving someone else's car.
Yes.
The law doesn't preclude you from driving someone else's car.
Right.
Yeah.
As long as you're borrowing it.
Yeah, as long as you're borrowing it. So
the owner of the car was with him.
yeah.
Oh, okay. What's with him in the car?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
بنية.
So he was borrowing this car or
No, he was driving her car. He
Yeah.
said,
Yeah. So
I-
it's
I was-
borrowing.
Yeah. So it's not the case where he was driving it every single day. It was like his
No,
car,
no,
right?
no,
It's her car.
No, just
Yeah.
one time.
So
Okay.
as long as the owner didn't exclude him from her policy, then he can drive that car.
Yeah.
And even if she did, if he has his own insurance, he can go through his own insurance.
النقطة الثانية بأنه هو ما كان يسوق سيارته،
لا
سيارة شخص آخر.
نعم.
بقانون
الشخص
ميشيغان
الآخر وياه بالسيارة.
وحتى لو ما كان وياه بالسيارة،
إيه.
ما دام هو طالبها والشخص الآخر سامح له بأنه يسوق،
إيه.
عنده
إيه
قضية.
سامح له.
عنده قضية.
اوكي لا هذه
Yeah.
Okay.
قضية هذه.
Next issue.
So yeah, it was the next issue was Medicaid, right? So he
Yeah.
went to therapy and he was
He
using
used
his
his
Medicaid.
Can I
Yeah.
ask a question
This
before
is,
we
the,
go
this is
into
the biggest problem so far, just so you know.
Oh,
Out of everything we talked about, this is the biggest problem.
okay.
But it's
Okay.
not that big.
I have a question.
Yeah.
That's-
Okay. If he is driving and he doesn't have his own insurance,
Yeah. So again, that doesn't preclude him from benefits. What'll happen is if it's going to, so we have, again, we talked about the order priority on the show many times, but basically
Which
we'll go
means
down,
which insurance company do I go through?
which means which insurance company is going to ultimately pay for the benefits for the purposes of the medical benefits, like therapy. And it'll literally go down. Does he have his own insurance? If not, when I say insurance, I mean auto insurance here. Okay. Does he have his own auto insurance? If not, then it'll be his family members who reside with him. And if they have Michigan compliant, no fault auto policies, then it'll go through theirs. And if they don't, then he's still eligible and the state will assign him an insurer, generally speaking. Now, I am going to ask one question. Is he a Michigan resident?
Yes.
Okay, great. Because that can make a difference.
Yeah. So even if he doesn't have insurance and there's no
No.
insurance in the household,
Because
the,
he's in
the state,
Michigan
the state will cover
residence.
him.
So-
Yeah.
لذلك أنا سألت هالسؤال حتى أوضح لهم
إيه.
للشخص بأنه
You already knew the
إذا
answer.
yeah, of course, yeah, but I wanted to.
أنا تعرف
You have to.
Yeah.
I have to hear it from you guys. النقطة بأنه هو كان دا يسوق السيارة حتى لو هو ما عنده انشورنس. إذا أي أحد من الأهل هو اللي عايش وياهم عنده انشورنس نقدر نروح ورا الانشورنس مال الأهل، وإذا ماكو أي أحد إلا حق يروح عن طريق الانشورنس مال الميشيغان حتى تدفع له كل الطبابة. Now Medicaid.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the issue with Medicaid is that you're by default going to treat under your auto insurance policy. Okay. Well, we'll try and make this answer fast.
So we've spoken about this before.
Right.
Yeah.
When you're involved in a car accident, your auto insurance, most of the time is primary. So if
Right.
he's billing under his health insurance,
They're going to assert a lien.
they're going to assert a lien on his case, and he's going to either have to pay it back out of his pocket or get the insurance company to pay it if it's not too late.
اوكي النقطة الأخرى بأنه هو هسه ميديكيد دا يدفع الحادث السيارة دائما الانشورنس مال السيارة أولي، لأن ميديكيد ما تغطي حوادث السيارات، فإذا يفتح كليم لازم الكليم مالته تدفع الفلوس للميديكيد لأن ميديكيد عندها lien.
And if not, he's going to be responsible for paying it out of his own pocket.
وإذا ما يسويها لازم بالأخير يدفعها من جيبه هو، فلازم يدير باله. خلي خابر.
Just a short answer. Give us a call. Yeah.
طبعا
What's the phone number again?
It's 248-702-6641. You put Sahar on the spot.
248-702-6641. 6641. What's the number?
I'm going to go with 248-702-6641.
Yeah.
That's good.
والاستشارة مجانية.
248-702-6641. I say it good because I've had the same number for a long time. I've been saying that number for the last 10 years.
طبعا مستمعينا الاعزاء، نشكر المحامي لورنس قاجي والمحامي جان شرودر والعزيزه تمارا.
ونشكرك استاذ ساهر على السؤال، كان جدا بمكانه.
صدق حلو.
القصه مالته.
قصه مو انت
It was
حكيت قصص
perfect.
فاحنا.
It was. I said we thank also Mr. Saher for
Absolutely.
his story.
Yes.
It came just in the right.
Yeah, and true, and the caller too for her
Yes.
story.
Well,
Basically, if anyone has stories, we love to hear them. We
Yeah.
love
ان
to hear
شاء
'em.
الله. طبعا مستمعينا الاعزاء، نلتقيكم ان شاء الله في الاسبوع القادم وفي حلقه جديده ان شاء الله مع المحامي لورنس قاجي. مستمعين